are you saying that if we approve the resolution as it is written by our staff, that you will not sign the MOU?
I think what we're trying to do is to be transparent up front that there are certain terms that we're not going to be able to agree to. And so what we were trying to do in proposing some slight changes to the draft resolution was to say there are things we believe we can work through with staff, but these two issues in particular related to the KIPP Foundation as a third party to the agreement, as well as the Government Code 1090, are things that we cannot sign in an MOU. So there are examples of where it makes it very difficult for us to operate, depending on, again, how Government Code 1090 is interpreted. What's been very clear at the state law level, and Davina is correct that this is getting, every year there is proposed legislation to try and force charters to comply, but so far the law has been very clear that this does not apply to charter schools at this point in time.
Davina, I'm sorry, can I speak to that?
Oh, yes, because I was going to ask you.
Yeah, the law is not very clear that it does not apply to charter schools. That when that legislation has come forward in the past, it has not said that those laws, it also has included the Brown Act and the Political Reform Act and other laws that are basically universally agreed already to apply to charter schools. And that those various pieces of legislation have not said these laws don't apply to charter schools, we're going to make them applicable. They have just been attempts to make it very clear that they apply. And so there is not agreement, and nor does that legislation establish that 1090 does not apply to charter schools.
You know, I find it interesting that the word transparency is being used to complement KIPP when their resistance and challenge of Government Code 1090 is exactly because they don't want to be in the practice of transparency. But again, it's an alternate universe listening to these things.
So, okay, I don't know how we're going to resolve the 1090 thing. Do you have a path forward on resolution if we did get to a vote on approving it? Because it seems like Darcy's right. Just go to the state board. I mean, let's deny it tonight and go to the state board. I mean, it seems like that's. But I wanted to take a different path tonight. But do you?
I think we had been very hopeful. We would like to be authorized by SCOE, but we wanted to be very clear that we wouldn't be able to sign. So if this is an issue for this board, we respectfully understand that that is the case, and then we ask that you go ahead and deny because we're not going to be able to sign an MOU with that provision in it. But it's with a heavy heart because I think we've all worked so closely to really consider what it would be like to work together. But I understand that that's an issue that's of importance.
I'm not critically important to this trustee.
It kind of makes me like wonder, right? Why that's such a big issue when for other charters it has not been, and the idea is that you would follow the intent of and comply with Government Code 1090. So I'm a little bit sort of just throwing it out there to ask why.
I want to make sure I'm addressing the core of your question. I think we've been working very diligently over the last several months to seek SCCOE approval. We've been working closely with staff, and I think we were very much hoping that we would be coming into a meeting this evening where our charter was getting voted up or down very cleanly. I think it really was for us at the 11th hour that a resolution that had more far-reaching language than it had in the past caused us to realize that there was this underlying issue. And so, I genuinely, we have been working towards local approval and working in the spirit of expecting that we're going to be working together with in many weeks and months and years to come. So it is really with a heavy heart, but we want to be open because I think we've been aware of the difficulty of MOU negotiations, and we wanted to be really clear on what we could abide by or not. So it's hard to say that going to the state might be the most appropriate path at this point in time, but I think unless this board is open to or willing to strike that language from the expectation, what we're saying is we wouldn't be able to sign the MOU. And if that is important, then perhaps the most appropriate path at this point would be to send us to the state.
Imagine what would happen if we caved. Anyone could come forward and say, well, we're not going to sign this. They sent a very arrogant letter basically saying, we're not doing this.
We trust our staff that this is best practice, that this is an evolving, as in all charter laws and all charter operation practice, that this is what we expect of our charter, that it is not onerous to supply this and to comply with this, that it is not done in a way that to disadvantage charters, a hidden pill, and other charters have agreed to it. So that is how I see it right now, and I encourage KIPP to kind of think about this, and then somewhat what Vice President Kamei have said. I'm also puzzled that this is the place that you would want to fight over this.